we can see that Bitcoin just pumped to a new all-time high of $123,000 per coin, but there is still $2 billion worth of shorts who might get liquidated if Bitcoin just goes a little bit further and hit $126,000 per coin. This could be setting up the perfect recipe for a supply shock. And it's not just me talking about a supply shock. Let's listen to the head of one of the largest options exchanges in the world, and let's listen to what he's looking at.
When you look at, you mentioned MicroStrategy a few times, and other companies that are acquiring Bitcoin, countries that are acquiring Bitcoin, you've got roughly a little bit over 15% that is being held. That's more than $200 billion that is being held. So it's no longer, say, a product that can be ignored. It's not an asset class that can no longer be ignored.
He said the quiet parts out loud. We have $200 billion being held by companies, private companies, nation states. These big actors, they're holding on to Bitcoin and they are not selling the Bitcoin. This is the biggest differentiation and thing that I think is underappreciated in the Bitcoin space. Who cares if governments are buying Bitcoin, but if they're never selling, what does this do to the supply and demand dynamic in the Bitcoin space? We can see there are now hundreds of public companies with Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and they are buying more and more and more every single day. And I saw this new data as well. We can see Bitcoin open interest in the options market just surged to $80 billion. Something big is brewing. Is it paper Bitcoin? Or is it simply a short squeeze? I don't know, but let's not forget, right now we do know that the whales are buying Bitcoin at a really, really aggressive rate. We can see coins are flying off the exchanges at rates we haven't seen in a very long time. We can see here, public companies alone bought $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin last week. It doesn't matter how you crunch the numbers or crunch the maths. We are witnessing a historic supply suffocation in the Bitcoin space right now. Again, everybody's looking at the public companies, but they're ignoring what the ETFs have just been quietly doing over the past 18 months. Again, the ETFs launched in January 2024. They broke every single record imaginable, but everybody was like, it's just a flash in a pan. It's just Larry Fink trying to collect some dollars off the new hype. But that's not true, because we can see consistent demand has continued to come in from the Bitcoin ETFs. This here is having a look at the institutional demand for Bitcoin. It is absolutely outweighing the amount of Bitcoin that is mined by a country mile, no pun intended. Have a look at this big green bar in 2024. Institutions bought 913,000 Bitcoin, but only 217,000 coins were mined. Institutions bought 4x the Bitcoin supply. I'm not going to dive super deep down that rabbit hole because I do have a deep dive planned on that exact topic for you guys in the not too distant future. But what is absolutely fascinating is, look at this. The shrimp wallets have bought 17,000 Bitcoin over the past month. So this is just the little guys. This is you and me buying our 0.1 Bitcoins. All right. This is just the shrimp. And even they have bought more than the Bitcoin that was mined in the past month. 13,850 Bitcoin were mined in the past month. And the little guys, the shrimp, we bought more than was mined. Again, let's not forget what the whales are doing. The whales are absolutely dwarfing the supply of Bitcoin. Kajun in the chat says, shrimp, unite. Absolutely, shrimp, unite. I do want to actually have a little bit of a talk about where the Bitcoin top might be. Again, I've kind of just thrown some numbers out there. We had a little bit of a look at this chart. I do want to dive in to this chart in a little bit more detail because there's a little bit more, let's say, bullishness hiding underneath the surface here. I think there's a few things people are not considering and maybe some differences with this cycle that for me makes me, let's just say it, even more bullish than ever before. Again, I think it's obviously it's interesting to see the big boys like Larry Fink and all of these countries and nation states and public corporations come in and buy Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong, I can't fight it, I can't change it, There's not a thing I can do in the world that would change Larry Fink's mind on Bitcoin. He wants to buy the thing. But again, I will remind you guys, if you do not hold your own Bitcoin, you do not own the coins. Again, so many people, I think, are trusting ETFs. They're trusting MicroStrategy. They're trusting public corporations. Public corporations is the new hot thing this bull run. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's talking about it. Every week, there's nearly a new treasury company putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Actually, guys, recently, there was something like 20 public putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet every single month. And at this rate, it is not slowing down. The number of public companies putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet, it's going absolutely parabolic right now. I want to actually show you guys a chart of just how much Bitcoin is being bought by these public corporations, because I think they and their actions, can help to explain why I think October and November might be even more bullish than most people think. Okay. Again, another chart I always like to remind you guys is this one here. Bitcoin's best 10 days typically melts faces. Have a look at this. We can see the purple columns is showing us what Bitcoin does in its best 10 days each bull run. Now, the years that I want you guys to take attention to is the 2013 bull run and the 2017 bull run. Have a look at what Bitcoin did in these years. We can see the best 10 days gave you 700% returns. This wrecked the returns that we saw in the remaining 355 days of 2013, which was 598%. Again, we saw something similar in 2017, 353% returns in Bitcoin's best 10 days compared to 225% in its remaining 355 days. So again, I just want you to think about what it would be like to be a Bitcoin holder in 2013 where we see 700% returns in its best 10 days. If you average this out, that would represent Bitcoin moving up by 70% on 10 separate days. That would represent Bitcoin nearly doubling on 10 separate days. If that happened today, we'd be looking at Bitcoin going from $123,000 today, and we'd be waking up tomorrow morning at $190,000 per coin. That is actually kind of insane when you think about it. And again, I think this kind of volatility is something that most people are simply not prepared for. Again, what happens when the price of Bitcoin always pumps? What happens to the exchanges like Coinbase? They have errors. They have malfunctions. All of a sudden, the buy and the sell button is turned off. This is why I always encourage you, if you do not own your own Bitcoin, you don't own anything, okay? I always encourage you guys to put your Bitcoin into your own custody. I think the best way to do that is in a Bitcoin hardware wallet. Again, there is literally hundreds of different hardware wallets. I've played around with all of them. I got cold cards, I got Bitboxes, I've got old school ledgers. This is the one I bought in 2017, believe it or not. She's a little bit old and scratched up. She's had a hard life dealing with me for 9 years. So again, if you do want to get your hands on some hardware wallets, Ledger is actually running a massive promotion this week where they're pretty much giving away hardware wallets. If you buy a Ledger Stacks or a Ledger Flex, they're literally going to be giving you guys something like $80 of Bitcoin when you buy the hardware wallet. No, that is not a stutter. That is reality. Have a look at this website right here. We can see if you buy a Ledger Flex, they're going to give you $70 of Bitcoin for buying the hardware wallet. The Ledger Stacks, they're going to give you $80 of Bitcoin to get a Ledger Stacks. It's insane. They're going to be giving you $50 if you buy a Ledger Nano X, $30 of free Bitcoin if you pay $79 for a Ledger Nano S. Again, I don't know what they're doing over there at Ledger, but they're pretty much giving away hardware wallets. So if you don't have one, use the link down below and get your hands on the Ledger Stacks, Ledger Flex. I really like these ones because they have touch screens. So again, I think some of the hardware wallets are a little bit difficult to use. Not going to name names, but as you can see, this puppy right here, it's a touch screen. It's super easy to use. This is beginner friendly, and I can't believe they're going to give you $80 of free Bitcoin if you get your hands on one of the ledgers. Again, if you're someone who's looking for maybe something different, something like a Trezor, for example. This is a Bitcoin only hardware wallet. They are also going to be giving you a 5% discount on anything you want to buy from Trezor with a promo code Luke5. So again, I've said this for years. If you don't own your own Bitcoin, you do not own anything. Get yourself some Bitcoin hardware wallets before the craziness begins. Because again, like we just looked at with this chart, the craziness is really about to accelerate in the Bitcoin space. I've had my own dose of craziness. I nearly lost a fight with an ice cube today. I don't know how many of you guys can deal with my massive bloodshot eyes today. But I think, speaking about the craziness in the Bitcoin space, I think things are about to accelerate. So let's answer Dan's question in the chat. When cycle top? So if history repeats, we should expect a Bitcoin top somewhere around November or December. And I ran you through the maths just a second ago. If Bitcoin simply does repeat what it did in its seasonality charts, then we would be looking at something like a $250,000 Bitcoin in around December 2025. So that's about 5 months away. That's why on the thumbnail of today's video, I said you've got 5 months left. I don't just make up these numbers and pull them out of the wazoo. It's a real number. I think you might only have 5 months left. And I think the generational bull run might actually begin much sooner than you might think. Okay, I think we could be a month away. Because again, in this seasonality chart, September is typically one of Bitcoin's worst months. You can see it is Bitcoin's worst month, minus 4%. So who knows what's going to happen? Maybe we're going to get a little bit of a breakout here in August over the next few weeks. Maybe Bitcoin pulls back for its final shakeout in September, and then maybe it absolutely moons to 160, 170, or 180 in October. Again, I don't know. Again, I think every Bitcoin model in the space is wrong. I think your power laws, your power opinions, I think diminishing returns, I honestly think you can throw them all in the bin. I don't think they're going to hold up. God, I hope I really hope that they fail sooner than later, because I think a lot of people, whether it happens this cycle or next cycle, they're going to lose a ton of money by trading based on these stupid charts where people just start drawing lines on it and say, oh, it's a power law. Trust the fact that the Bitcoin data from 2011 is the same as 2021. I don't think it's the same. I think the supply and demand has completely changed everything. I think that the Bitcoin bull run that we've just entered might be completely different to anything we've ever seen before. And again, I just think right now, most people are simply too bearish on Bitcoin. So many people are going to think about selling their Bitcoin at $200,000 a coin. I think that's a terrible idea. Please never sell your Bitcoin. If you are looking to get some liquidity for your Bitcoin once it's increased in price, I think you should check out a company like Firefish. They're a Bitcoin lending company that doesn't take custody of your Bitcoin. They're not like BlockFi. They're not like Celsius. They're not like FTX, who said, trust us, bro, we'll pay the yield. Firefish is a completely open source code Bitcoin lending company. They use peer-to-peer lends and they use multi-sig vaults, so they never actually take custody of your Bitcoin. As you can see, I've already got 2 loans with them. I've tested them for my Bitcoin bull run exit strategy that you guys are probably going to see in a deep dive video coming in the not too distant future. And they're even going to give you 30% off your first loan if you use promo code Luke. Okay, that's a significant discount. We're talking about 30% off. So again, sign up with them using that promo code, also linked down below. And just get prepared for this Bitcoin bull run, because as Dan laid out here, Bitcoin's top 270K in October. That is insane if we actually see that. Michael in the chat saying 140K in August. 50% drop in bear market Q2 2026, says Dan. Let's see what the rest of you guys are saying here in the chat. What's my boy Green Candle saying? If you have enjoyed this video, by the way, we would love a smashing of the like button. And again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm on a little bit of a challenge to put out a piece of long form content every single day for the rest of the bull run. Who knows whether I'll be able to succeed or not. But if you're not subscribed, you won't be notified when they go live. So again, subscribe down below. Still can't believe there's 26,420 odd crazy people who are subscribed. So thank you. I really appreciate everyone tuning along. I appreciate people like All Night Hider more than you know, my friend. He's put links to Ledger, Trezor, Firefish, and all of the show partners in the live chat. So again, no excuses to not put your Bitcoin in your own custody. I can't believe it, but they're just giving away $80 of free Bitcoin over at Ledger when you buy a hardware wallet. Again, this deal is only going to last a couple of days, I've been told. There's no way it's going to last longer than a week. So I highly recommend you go and buy some hardware wallets and get yourself $80 of free Bitcoin as soon as possible. Oh, my man, Rock VTM's in the chat. So a lot of people are talking about $165,000 Bitcoin. I think that's probably going to be the bear market bottom for the next Bitcoin cycle. What I'm really interested in is having a look at what is happening with the amount of shorts we're seeing in the space. I haven't seen a buildup of shorts that big in some time. So again, I encourage you, please, guys, just know what you own. If you're new to Bitcoin, spend 10 hours studying Bitcoin. Spend 10 hours understanding why nobody, especially me or anybody, whether they have a PhD or not, knows what's going to happen with the price of Bitcoin. We can show you charts. We can show you stupid lines on charts and tell you and show you the history. But again, I think Bitcoin today, it's a $2.5 trillion asset. It's been around for 16 years. Bitcoin has a total addressable market cap of 900 trillion. You can assign whatever probabilities you want on Bitcoin reaching X market cap. But what I will say is that I think Bitcoin's going to be worth hundreds of trillions of dollars per coin. And I think trying to project diminishing returns when Bitcoin's at 2.5 trillion, that is 0.2% of global wealth. I think that's really dangerous, and it just does not take into account the bigger picture. I think it's insane to try to say that Bitcoin's going to be, oh, it's such a predictable asset now. It's at $2.5 trillion. I can predict this thing for the next 10 years. It's going to get more and more boring. The volatility is going to get lower and lower. I just encourage you guys to be really careful with what you believe. I just don't believe we're going to see that. Oh, shit. I can't say that on a live stream, but Rock VTM, another $50 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I think your message, don't wait to buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin and wait, is the perfect message to end this live stream on. Thank you so much, Rock VTM, for the super chat. Thank you so much to the 912 of you guys tuning in live at 8:30 on a Wednesday night to listen to a crazy kid with a wild haircut and a bloodshot eye talk about Bitcoin. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And with all that said, I'll see you in another video tomorrow.